there, welcome to the Focus Podcast with Taralee. This is the place where we talk about real life, real relationships, and how to grow through it all. If you're looking for simple mindset shifts, better communication, and deeper connections, you're in the right spot. Let's dive in. Hey friends, welcome back to the Focus Podcast with Taralee. Today is special because it's the final episode of 2025, and it's also season 1 finale. I want to start by just saying this out loud. I can't believe I did it. This was my first year podcasting, and if you're someone who started something new in midlife or while juggling marriage or kids or work or stress, you know what it takes to keep showing up. So thank you for being here. If you listened while folding laundry or driving or crying in the car or cooking dinner or lying awake at 2 a.m., you weren't just consuming content. You were trying to find a way forward, and I don't take that lightly. So today I want to do 3 things. First, I'm going to wrap up season 1, what I learned and what I saw again and again in the patterns that showed up. And second, I'll give you a simple end-of-year reset you can do without pressure, no perfect journaling required, just clarity. And third, I'm going to share a season 2 blueprint because 2026 is going to be more intentional, more structured, and honestly, more helpful, I hope. So, and before we get into all of that, I want to just say one more thing. If you're ending 2025 thinking, I should be further along, or I should have fixed this by now, I should feel better than I do, I want you to let that go for the next few minutes. You're here, you're still trying, and that matters more than you know. When I look back at 2025, here's how I would summarize season 1 in just a few sentences. Most couples aren't fighting because they don't love each other. They're fighting because they don't feel safe. Most conflict isn't about the topic, it's about what the topic represents. And real change almost never comes from one big conversation. It comes from small, consistent shifts that rebuild trust over time. I want to share why I started this podcast in the first place. For years, I've had these conversations with people who are trying so hard and they're still stuck. They're not stuck because they don't love their spouse or their family. They're stuck because they don't know what to do with the emotions and the patterns and the distance, the spirals, and they don't have language for what's actually happening underneath that argument. And I kept thinking about how many people are lying awake at night, replaying these same conversations, wondering, is it me? Am I crazy? Is this relationship even fixable? I didn't want people to feel alone in that. And there's also something personal for me here. My dad had this quote that has shaped my whole life. What you focus on expands. And I've watched that be true in relationships too. When we focus on what's wrong, we feel more hopeless. But when we learn how to focus on what's true, what we can own and what we can repair, what we can build, everything starts to shift. And that's the moment that I knew I needed to talk about this out loud. Not perfectly, just consistently, so people have hope and tools in their ears while they're living real life. So I want to be real with you here. Recording the first episode, the first few episodes was really humbling. I had the message, I knew what I wanted to say, but hearing my own voice back, I kept thinking, do I sound weird? Do I sound confident enough? Who am I to teach this? I definitely recorded and re-recorded parts. I overthought the intro, and I kept trying to make it sound right. And I had that moment, and maybe you've had this in your own life, when you're about to do something new and the fear gets loud and it says, just don't. You don't have to do this. But I also knew that if I waited until I felt perfectly ready, that I'd never start. And the people that I wanted to help don't need perfect, they need real. They need steady, and they need someone to say, you're not alone, and there is a way through this. So I pressed publish anyway, nervous and all. One of the reasons that I kept going this year is because of the messages that I've gotten. Those moments when you realize that someone on the other side is actually listening while they're living it. I've had listeners say things like, I listened to your episode while I was sitting in my car because I didn't want my kids to see me cry. and it helped me calm down enough to go back inside and not start another fight. I realized that I've been reacting to the story in my head and not the facts. And I've tried your facts versus story pause. It didn't fix everything, but it stopped the spiral. And those messages hit me because that's the whole point. Not instant perfection, just a little clarity, a little more steadiness, and maybe a little more hope right in the middle of your day. And when I think about who is on the other side of these episodes, I see real faces, not just listeners. I see the woman sitting in her bathroom trying not to cry so her kids don't hear her. I see the couple who hasn't touched in months and doesn't know how to come back. I see the wife who is so tired, she's not even angry anymore. She's just numb. And I knew I had to keep going because these aren't random problems, they're patterns. And that leads to the biggest thing I noticed all year. A lot of us think that we're fighting about topics, about the dishes, the phone, the tone, the money, the intimacy, the in-laws, parenting. But most of the time, those are just symptoms. Underneath it all, I kept hearing the same things come up again and again. People craving emotional safety, struggling with trust, wanting appreciation, feeling alone in the responsibility, and honestly, a lot of the nervous systems that are just completely maxed out. And if any of that describes you this year, I just want you to hear me. You are not too much. You are not broken. You're reacting to what you've been carrying. So if I could boil down what truly moved the needle this year, the first thing was clarity. Clarity is the ability to pause and ask, what are the facts and what am I making it mean? Because when we treat our interpretations like facts, we react to assumptions. But when we separate them, we become calmer, clearer, and more capable of connection. Okay, let me show you what I mean by fact versus stories. So fact is he didn't respond to my text for 5 hours. That's it. That's the fact. But then my brain goes straight to the story. He doesn't care. He's ignoring me on purpose. He's mad at me. He's probably doing something shady. Or another one is the fact that she sighed when I walked through the door. Just a sigh. But the story in our brain that we turn it into is she hates me. I can't do anything right. Or here we go again. This marriage is doomed. And this is the key. Most of our suffering isn't coming from the fact. It's coming from the story that we attach to it. And I'm saying this with so much compassion because I do it too. I've had moments where I've basically built an entire courtroom case in my head with evidence, witnesses, a closing argument. I mean, I am convinced. And then I find out the truth was something simple. They were overwhelmed. They were tired. They were distracted. They're human. And when I remember this, I can respond to what's real instead of reacting to what I imagined. Okay, here's a little tool you can use today, like in the middle of your real life, not in a perfect calm moment. When you notice yourself starting to spiral, just pause and say, the fact is blank. And then the story I'm telling is, what is that? That alone creates space. And then ask yourself one more question. What else could be true? You don't have to jump straight to the most positive explanation. We're not trying to force optimism here, but just aim for neutral. Like maybe they're not ignoring you. Maybe they're overwhelmed. Maybe they're distracted. Maybe they assume you were fine. Maybe it has nothing to do with you. Because the goal is to respond to what's real, not react to the worst case story that your brain's cooked up in just 2 seconds. Now, I know some of you are really good at spiraling, and I say that with love because I can spiral with the best of you. But your brain might be wired to see the negative first. It's a survival mechanism, but in relationships, it can create so much unnecessary pain. I wrote an entire blog post about this, how to catch the negative filter and come back to what's working. And I'll link it in the show notes. It's called The Ease of Seeing the Negative, Rewiring Your Marriage for What's Working. Because here's the thing, what you focus on really does expand. And if you're focusing on what's wrong, you're training your brain to find more evidence that you're right. But when you start focusing on what's true and what's working, even if it's small, you start to see possibilities again. The second thing that creates real change is ownership. Ownership doesn't mean it's all your fault. Ownership means you have influence. It's the shift from I can't do anything unless they change to I can choose how I show up in this moment. And that shift brings people back into power and hope. Now, here's an important clarification here. Ownership is not taking responsibility for someone else's behavior. It's taking responsibility for your tone, your boundaries, your follow-through, and your nervous system for your choices. You cannot control what they do, but you can always control what you do. And that's not a burden, that's your power. I had to learn the difference between carrying everything and leading. Carrying everything feels like resentment, but leading feels like clarity. When I'm carrying, I'm doing everyone else's emotional work. I'm anticipating their needs, I'm managing their moods, I'm picking up the slack without asking for help, and then feeling bitter that no one notices. But when I'm leading, I'm clear about what I need, what I'm willing to do, and what I'm not. I'm setting the tone without martyring myself. And that shift changed everything for me in my marriage, in my parenting, and also in my coaching practice. One of the most powerful dynamics I see is when one person feels like they're managing the whole relationship. The plans, the emotional temperature, the repairs, the conversations, the effort. That's not love, that's exhaustion. And here's what I've noticed. When you're the one doing all the work, you're actually training the other person not to participate. Now, I know that sounds harsh, but think about it for a second. If you always pick up the slack, they learn that they don't have to. If you always initiate repair, they learn that they can wait you out. If you always manage the emotional climate, they never have to learn how. And I'm not saying this to blame you, I'm saying this so that you can see where you have power. So ask yourself this. What is one thing that I can stop doing that's training them not to participate? And what is one clear request that I can make instead? Because ownership isn't about doing more. Sometimes it's about doing less and letting the gap show up so that they have a chance to step into it. If this is where you feel stuck, feeling alone in the responsibility, I wrote a post that gives language to that dynamic and what it does to connection. I'll link it in the show notes, but it's called No Accountability for the Space. Because when one person is carrying everything, connection dies, not because of lack of love, but because of lack of partnership. So the third thing that creates real change is repair. Healthy relationships aren't the ones that never struggle. They're the ones that learn how to come back. And the biggest difference that I've seen between couples who heal and couples who stay stuck isn't whether they fight, it's how long they stay disconnected after the fight. I used to think that repair meant that we had to talk for 2 hours and come to a perfect conclusion. Now I know that repair can be simple. Repair can be, I'm sorry I got sharp. I don't want to be against you. Repair can be, can we restart? Repair can be a hand on the shoulder. It doesn't have to be a full apology with a bow on it. It just has to be an acknowledgement that says, I see that went sideways and I don't want us to stay stuck here. Because here's what happens when we don't repair. The hurt piles up. The distance grows. And what once was a small moment becomes evidence in a long list of, see, they always do this. Repair interrupts that pattern. It says, this moment doesn't get to define us. Here are 3 scripts that you can borrow. 1, I don't like how I showed up. Can we try that again? 2, I hear how that landed. That wasn't my intention, but I care about the impact. 3, okay, I'm feeling defensive. I need to pause so I don't say something I regret. I'll come back in 20 minutes. These are short, simple, and sincere, and that's all that repair needs to be. Now, if you're someone who struggles with repair because there's too much old hurt in the way, I want to talk about resentment for a second. Resentment is what happens when pain isn't processed. It gets stored. So if you feel like you're reacting to bigger than the moment, that's often old hurt talking. Maybe it's not about the dishes today. Maybe it's about the 47 times before when you felt unseen. Maybe it's not about the tone today. Maybe it's about the pattern of dismissiveness that's been building for months. And here's the hard truth. You can't repair forward if you're still holding on to backward. That doesn't mean that you have to forgive and forget everything, but it does mean that you have to be honest about what you're carrying so you can decide what you want to do with it. I wrote more about how resentment forms and how to start clearing it. I'll link it in the show notes, and it's called Resentment from Past Conflicts When Old Hurt Runs the Show. Okay, so we're heading into the new year. I want to give you a gentle reset that you can do alone or with your partner. No perfect journaling required, no 5-hour deep dive, just 3 simple questions that will give you clarity. Question 1, what was the hard this year and what did it cost us? I'm not asking you to relive every painful moment, but I'm asking you to name it, because when you don't name the hard, we carry it into the next year without realizing it. So just pause and ask, what was hard and what did it cost? Did it cost connection, trust, intimacy, peace? Just name it. Question 2, what did we do well this year, even in the hard? This is the part that we forget. We're so good at listing all that went wrong, but we skip right over what went right. So ask, what did we do well? Did we keep showing up? Did we choose repair over revenge? Did you stay when it would have been easier to leave? Did you protect your kids from your pain? Did you try something new? Name that too, because it matters. Okay, question 3. What's one small shift we're willing to try in January? Not 10 things, just one. One small shift is enough. Maybe it's, I'm going to pause before I react. Maybe it's, I'm going to ask for what I need instead of expecting them to read my mind. Maybe it's, I'm going to stop bringing up the past in every argument. One shift. That's all you need to start. So if I'm honest, one thing that I'm really proud of this year is that I didn't quit. There were moments when I thought, who am I to do this? Does anyone even care? But I kept going, and what I learned is that consistency beats perfection every single time. Okay, let's talk about what's next. In 2026, I'm starting a new season with more structure because I want it to be easier for you to follow along and actually apply what you're learning, not just listening and feel inspired for one day. So here's what you can expect. I'm going to have themed months. So each month has a clear focus and you can go deeper on one topic at a time. I'm going to have practical tools and scripts because I don't just want to teach you concepts. I want to give you words you can actually use. So I want to give you shorter try this week practices so you can test what you're learning in real time, and more direct teaching of my framework, my focus framework. My focus framework is the backbone of everything that I teach. It's F is for facts first. Separate what happened from the story you're telling about it. O is to own your thoughts. Recognize that your thoughts create your feelings, not the other person. C is to choose your feelings. You don't have to believe every emotion that shows up. U is to understand your actions. Your actions come from your feelings, so if you want different results, you have to work backward. S is shape your results. When you change your thoughts, you change your feelings, which changes your actions, which changes your results. This is the framework that has changed my life, and it's what I'll be teaching in season 2. My dad used to say all the time, what you focus on expands, and I've watched that be true in every area of my life, but especially in relationships. When I focus on what's wrong, I find more evidence that things are broken. But when I focus on what's true, what I can control, what I can build, what's still working, I start to see hope again. And that's what I want for you. Not toxic positivity, not pretending everything is fine, just the ability to see what's real. So here's what's coming in the first quarter of 2026. In January, we're going to focus a lot on the focus fundamentals. I'm teaching a local workshop in early January, and I'm also considering doing a webinar later for a broader audience. This is going to be a deep dive into the framework and how it works, how to use it, and how to apply it in real conversations. And in February, I'm going to talk about communication that de-escalates, real scripts, real examples, and what to do when conversations spiral. This is going to be practical, tactical, and immediately useful. In March, we're going to talk about rebuilding connection. We're going to talk about turning toward instead of away, trust building, appreciation, and intimacy built on emotional safety. Not surface level connection, real, grounded, sustainable connection. But I want your input. If you could choose one theme you want me to teach in 2026, what would it be? So you can message me or reply to an email with one word, webinar. If you want to be in the online version of the workshop, then tell me what you want help with the most. Because I'm listening and I want to make sure season 2 serves you in a way that you actually need. Before I go, I just want to say this. If 2025 was heavy, you are not alone. And if you're stepping into 2026 unsure, remember that you don't have to fix everything at once. But you can start changing the pattern. You can choose clarity over confusion. You can choose ownership over victimhood. You can choose repair over resentment. One choice at a time, one moment at a time, one conversation at a time. That's how real change happens. So thank you for being here in season 1, and thank you for trusting me with your time, your pain, and your hope. And I will see you in 2026. This is the Focus Podcast with Taralee, and remember, what you focus on expands. Thanks for hanging out with me today on the Focus Podcast. If something stood out or helped you in some way, feel free to share it or leave a quick review. It means a lot. Keep showing up, keep growing, and I'll catch you in the next episode.